been in an initiatory time for a few years, but now we are inside of one of several actual initiations. And basically, it's a extraordinary quickening that's begun, um, requiring a lot of letting go, a lot of paying attention to our nervous system, finding the ways that work for us, that bring us into back into balance, back into parasympathetic nervous system rather than the fight, flight, fawn, and freeze reactivity that is often a big part of our interactions right now on this planet. A lot of reactivity, a lot of fear, a lot of dysregulated nervous systems walking around. And, I can own my part in that for different reasons. But yeah, it's a big work right now to listen in for what is needed for us to help us feel safe inside of our own selves, inside of our own hearts, um, because this energy is so intense and it can be perceived by our nervous system as a threat, a physical threat, because it is unusual to be experiencing this. These are never before times. Um, Maybe it's happened before, many, many, many billions of years ago, before we even knew Earth existed. But this particular time of transformation is feels new, certainly in my karmic record book. Um, and for me, it feels like being spun at very high speed inside of a centrifuge. And this word centrifuge and this image of this little machine that spins really, really quickly has has just been coming to me repeatedly. So I decided to look up the description. Um, and what it says in one of the many descriptions is a centrifuge is a device that uses centrifugal force, which is a very fast spinning force, to subject a specimen to a specified constant force for the purpose of separating out various components of a fluid. So it literally separates out one thing from another at a very high speed. I think they spin blood in a centrifuge to kind of separate out different things in people's blood. And it's exactly what these energies feel like to me, that I'm inside of this centrifuge and it's spinning out what no longer is useful or needed for me going forward into this rather unknown place. And so there's the snag because my ego and identity is often in opposition with the process, making it even harder than it needs to be at times. And as I said, when we're sensitive humans, which a lot of us are, our nervous system actually perceives these incoming energies, whether it's from the sun as solar flares or from further away from different solar systems, star systems. The body, because it's unusual and it creates a need for the physical systems to transform too and release and let go. And so the body does this or this, and we we can default into a dysregulated state where we're on edge. We want to, you know, flee the scene or get in a fight, or we're cranky, we're irritable. Um, and it can be hard to find balance and equanimity and homeostasis within the transformation that's being asked of us right now. And letting go is easier when we know what we're letting go into. Um, and for me, when I'm letting go into, despite the challenges, the that are presented around feeling tight, feeling contracted, feeling fearful at times. What I'm letting go into is a deeper sense of my own heart memory, the intelligence of my heart, the wisdom of my heart, um, allowing my heart to guide me, to teach me, to share with me its truth, its fears, its hopes, its dreams, its, the broken promises that live inside of my heart. And so the conversation within this tumultuous, transformative time is with my heart. And that, for me, is the focus of this shift that we're experiencing anyway on our planet is into, we are letting go into a heart-centered way of being that, we may have given lip service to in the past and understood conceptually, but it's a very different thing to actually live from that place of deep listening and taking action from that place and trusting what we've never really had to trust fully before, you know? Um, beyond willful strategy, manipulation, fitting in with the overculture, other people's rules, all of that, that's just beginning to not work anymore. Probably hasn't worked for a long time, but it's obvious now. There's confusion in the field when we try to do that. It doesn't quite feel right anymore. Things glitch. We kind of have this sort of herky-jerky feeling that things just aren't comfortable in that space anymore. So I just want to kick off April with a listening in to the heart space, a listening in for wisdom, a grounding into a more rooted space from the heart. So if you'll join me in just letting our eyes fall closed and just taking a nice breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Maybe let's do the 4-4-4-4 breath. It's very hard to be thinking about shopping lists or strategies when we're counting our breaths. So it's a really good way to open to a different scene internally. So in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Bringing the breath with that 4-4-4 count in through the nose, and as you do, allowing your bottom belly, the part that we hate to see poofed out, but poof it out like a balloon when you're breathing in. Let it really expand front ways and sideways, and then out through the mouth. Just a few nice, long, slow breaths in. Out. You can make them audible exhales in, ah, out. Really exhale to like the last little shred of breath. It's good practice to fully exhale. Oftentimes we I'm a shallow breather like a lot of us are, especially when we're in some kind of hypervigilant state. That's the first thing that happens. We compress our breath, because breath brings feeling and breath brings aliveness. And, our systems go into a very narrow focus when we feel threatened. So everything kind of gets smaller so that we have this reserve of energy to kind of pounce and run away from whatever is chasing us. It's a very primitive response. So, breath, choosing to open and to fill ourselves with the breath of life, just that very act can be enough to reset, to begin to reset us back into rest and digest, into a more regulated nervous system. And we need that in order to make good decisions. No good decision, unless the house is burning down, or the tiger's at the door, or you're being chased by a herd of elephants. No good decision comes from a dysregulated nervous system. And we might forget that 10 times a day, but remembering it is a really good practice. And during these times of intensity, when the going gets tough, we get what we practice. And so if it's just a simple breath practice, a micro practice of breath, every, hour I'll do my belly breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, and try to kind of put both feet on the floor or do it standing, Can even do it with movement, to kind of engage the body in the the act of opening, the act of opening.